Roasty Buds Coffee Company has entered a bit of a strange collaboration with Atari, and specifically Atari's recent home console, the VCS 800. And the benefits of this collaboration seem to be twofold. First off, we get a VCS exclusive game called Roasty Buds Special Brew, which is a sort of puzzle platformer with elements similar to Super Meat Boy, Ricky and Vicky, and maybe even some minor presentation similarities to Cuphead. Not to mention that, well, they're about coffee cups and coffee. Yeah. Anyway, in addition, we get a new blend of dark roast coffee from the brewer themselves, in the form of the Atari VCS gaming blend Dark Roast Coffee. For this review, I'm going to discuss both the coffee and the game. And I wanted to ensure that I've played a fair amount of the game and consumed a good portion of coffee before going into depth on my thoughts. If you're only concerned about the game or the coffee, you can click ahead to the points shown in the video or in the pinned comment down below to get the rich, bold information that you're craving. But with all that said, let's get into this strange video about an odd collaboration and see if it's worth sipping the game and playing the coffee with Roasty Buds and the Atari VCS. First, the coffee. You can obtain it in a few different forms, including Keurig pods, a bag of grounds, or whole bean, and the variety is appreciated. I personally have been using a Keurig for over 5 years now, but we do so by using reusable pods and store-bought grounds. So I went with the bag of Atari VCS Gaming Blend Dark Roast Grounds. It comes in a resealable 12-ounce bag, which is designed with an all-red coloring and the words Atari VCS at the top of the bag, and our roasty pals enjoying a play session with the VCS front and center. The bag appears to be designed similarly to the rest of their products, but it's attractive and it stands out. I kinda like it. Now, the opening of the resealable bag is a little small for me. I imagine maybe they expect you to pour it, but I honestly don't know. I use a scoop, and it just barely fits, and I often lose a lot of the contents when pulling the scoop out. The resealable bag is a nice touch, but you'll probably do better to convert it to another container for easier access. But packaging aside, it's the contents within that are the main attraction, and the coffee looks and smells great. It's not the most aromatic coffee I've ever smelled, but it's decent. I also want it to be known that I am not what you would call a coffee snob. I typically drink Folgers, and yeah, I enjoy it. Often I have 2 cups a day, one in the morning and one after dinner, and I've rather enjoyed replacing my Folgers with this coffee. It's much more expensive, as I usually buy 6 ounces for about $6 at Target or Kroger's, but I think that this is worth the extra cost. It has a good taste, a little more bitter than I'm used to, but it's flavorful. I don't prefer dark roast, but if I'm honest, this one is pretty weak for such, and I think that's why I like it. It has to be at the weak end of dark roast, but that makes it perfect for people like myself. The Roasty Buds Atari VCS coffee is a good daily driver, and does what you want coffee to do. It wakes me up in the morning and keeps me going during the day. I think coffee snobs might turn their nose up to it, especially for a dark roast. But for everybody else, I think they'll find it a fairly reasonable priced specialty coffee, and one that lasts a good long while. My 12-ounce bag lasted me about 2 months, but again, I didn't drink it every day. Most days I have 1 to 2 cups, but there's a few days where I drank none. The coffee within the bag retained its flavor for most of that time. It might have lost a bit towards the end, but I noticed similar things with my Folgers and the like. So I don't think it's anything against Roasty Buds. Overall, I'm happily surprised by their Atari VCS blend. It was fun drinking the branded coffee while playing the game. For that reason, I give Roasty Buds Atari VCS Gaming Dark Blend Roast Coffee 4 one-button classic controllers out of 5. Again, I think some people will be a little disappointed that it's weaker than expected, but most should enjoy the taste, especially if you're used to store-brand coffee. It's a nice little treat to keep around, and I plan on buying more of it for as long as they offer it. You can currently pick it up off Amazon, Roasty Buds website, and from Atari.com. So if you've been on the fence, give it a try. If you're like me, then I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. But enough of the coffee talk. Let's talk about coffee-related video games. Specifically, Roasty Buds Special Brew.
Buddy up! Buds on the loose!
It was developed by Abstract Polygon, and this appears to be the only game they've done to this point. It hit the stores sometime in November or December of 2024, and has since been updated a few times with new levels and power-ups. It currently says it's in early access, and is up to version 3.3 as of this review. So, what do you do in Roasty Buds Special Brew? Well, you take control of coffee beans who want to rescue their bean friends who are trapped in barrels. You then want to avoid the roasters, crushers, and spikes until you get to the end of the level to summon the coffee grinder, and then happily jump into it and become grounds. Which, I found kind of weird. Why did I bother to rescue them? I don't know, video game logic, am I right? Anyway, it's an actually fun game. It's simple and easy. Completing the levels isn't hard, and I think I only failed a handful of times. But the true challenge lies in getting all S ratings and finding the secrets. And the game does a great job in teaching you everything you need to know. How to avoid obstacles, what the power-ups do, and how the screen wraps itself around in odd ways. If you walk off the right of the screen, you often end up on the left side, sometimes in a higher or lower area. And this is a simply brilliant gameplay element. Why don't more games do this? Anyway, the power-ups are useful and plentiful. You have pumpkin armor that allows you to take an additional hit for a limited amount of time. You have a cowboy hat that lets you walk through fireballs and crushers, but not spikes. And you have a spicy power-up that slows down time, making obstacles easier to navigate. All this helps because you die in one hit. But it's usually okay. You take control of the next bean you have with you, as long as you've been rescuing them. Again, a really smart concept that works well. Overall, I really enjoyed Roasty Buds, except it just felt a bit too easy at times. And I didn't feel very motivated to go back through and get higher rankings and scores or to find the secrets. Maybe I'm just not motivated by coffee beans. But the game is an enjoyable distraction, and not a bad one at all for the Atari VCS. I'm sure its main job is to promote the coffee, and it does that well enough. The presentation is mostly enjoyable too. They seem to have gone a similar path to games like Cuphead, with a more old-timey feel. The graphics of the game itself harkens back to 8-bit titles. You know, the trendy throwback, but it works. Things go from black and white in the very beginning of levels and become color by the time you start. And once you clear a set of levels, you get a movie reel of the coffee beans being made into coffee and flowing directly into a cup. It's all consistent in the presentation and the coffee theming for sure. What's inconsistent to me is the audio. It all sounds fine, don't get me wrong. But what threw me off is that there is no music during gameplay. You get sound effects, coffee drips, but no music. And it makes the game feel kinda lonely and a little eerie if I'm honest. I don't know why they chose not to include music during the gameplay. Everywhere else they have catchy tunes, and, well, it works fine and follows the old-timey feel. It's definitely a choice, just not one I think I approve of. Being in early access, it could be something that is taken care of in the future. But regardless, there are a fair amount of levels right now, and they seem to be consistently adding more and more, which is much appreciated. The game is light on options, but I guess they really aren't needed as everything works and plays fine. And I wasn't pining for an options menu at any time during my playthrough. But I think that's all there really is to say about Roasty Buds Special Brew on the Atari VCS 800. So let's put the game through the coffee grinder, known as the pros and cons section, and see if it turns out to be a nice, delicious cup of joe, or if it's a swill that should be tossed down the drain. And as always, we'll start with the pros.
Buddy up!
For the pros, I do like the 8-bit style and the level design. It has to be hard to develop this kind of game, and they're doing an excellent job with it. The sound effects in the announcer are great too. I also think the live system is very smart. It all plays great with either the modern or classic controller, and the unique power-ups and quirks allow the game to feel very much like its own thing. Plus, with future updates, it will only become a better value with time. But for the cons, I want to point out the lack of music during the levels. I just don't understand that choice. Also, some people will no doubt be bored and turned off by the coffee theming. I mean, it's evident that it's made to promote a product, but that doesn't mean it's bad. And ultimately, the game steers easy right now. But maybe there could be more challenge in the pipeline. So with all that said, I think it's fair to give Roasty Buds Special Brew on the Atari VCS 4 one-button classic controllers out of 5. If things get fleshed out more with some truly challenging levels or evident rewards for spending the time to get all S rankings, I think it'll feel like a more rewarding game all around. But as it is, it's a fun distraction, with some neat and unique gameplay elements. And it's really cool having a true Atari VCS exclusive game, at least for the time being, even if the game is just a promotional tie-in game for coffee. But you've all heard what I've had to say about both the coffee and the game. Now, I want to hear from all of you. Have you tried the coffee? Have you tried the game? Do you enjoy both of them? Either of them? None of them? Why or why not? And do you agree with the scores that I gave the game and the coffee? Let me know about all this and more in the comments down below. And please, subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it. Or dislike if you didn't. Hey, it's only fair, right? And with that, it's time to wrap up this video so I can brew another cup of coffee and rescue some more delicious coffee beans. I've been the 7800 Pro Gamer, a man who has been described as rich and bold, with just the right amount of bitterness, here at the Atari Network. And I'd like to thank you all for watching. And until next time, please remember to stay classy, Atarians.
Bottoms up.